good.
Welcome back to 22 Panels, everybody. My guest tonight, returning for I think the third time now,
Oh,
is
wow.
Pornsak Pichetshote. Did I get that right this time?
Pichetshote.
Pichetshote. That's right.
Yes.
I always want to pronounce the E.
Okay.
Pichetshote.
Yes.
Okay. One of these days I'll get it right the first time. It matters to me, and it should. Um, so your project right now is the Horizon experiment, which, dear God, I hope it. What are you going to call it if it becomes five series rather than five one shots? Is it still the
I
Horizon
think there.
experiment, or does
I
it get to
mean, I
be the
I
Horizon project?
I I think if we are so lucky for them to be, they each will be their own things, and if they
Right.
decide to have any acknowledgement to the original experiment, then great. But it is all up to them.
That's fair. So since you do it so much better than I will and have, give us the like water cooler pitch for what the Horizon experiment is.
Sure. The Horizon Experiment are five one-shot pilots for a potential new series. And for all those potential new series, I reached out to creators I'm friends and fans with, all from different media, and gave them the same challenge, which was create a protagonist from a marginalized background and set your story in a popular genre where if you change the background of your character, your whole story would have to change. And from that, we have five one-shots spinning off into five potential new series. The first is a book that came out last month called The Manchurian, about a Chinese super spy doing covert missions in America for China, doing kind of a over the not over the top, but doing a larger than life James Bondian riff on the current Cold War that we're in. Coming out today, actually,
Yeah, came out
is
today. Yeah.
came out
So
today. Yes,
I mean, by the time people listen, it'll be like came out yesterday or the day before even.
yes,
Right.
yes.
This
Uh,
week.
Yes, coming out this week, came out this week, is The Sacred Dam by Saber Prasada, and
Which is
who's a wonderful writer from Marvel Studios, done work for Marvel Studios, and Michael Walsh, who's currently doing one of my favorite books, Frankenstein,
yeah.
and they are
And
doing,
Silver Coin was
and the
fantastic.
Silver
Did you
Coin
get in?
was
Did,
awesome.
you did an
I
issue of that,
did,
didn't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's where I met Michael, and yeah, and they're doing a book called The Sacred Dam, which is about a Muslim exorcist, a Muslim John Constantine, for lack of a
Mhm.
better analogy. And then
It was so good.
FOC, and thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I love all of them, but that, yeah, I love how that came out. And then coming out, orders are closing on Monday for Moondogs by award-winning novelist. She just won a World Fantasy Award. Tananori wins about a new award every month. She is a very fancy writer who Stephen King just talked about on PBS being a fan of. And she's working with Kelsey Ramsey, a comics newcomer who's kind of skyrocketing uh, through all these really great choice assignments that we kind of got on our way up. And they're doing a book called Moondogs, which is about East African werewolves secretly living in Miami and focusing on the experience of being a minority within a minority. And then coming out in December, we have Motherfucking Monsters by TV writer Jay Holtham from the Emmy-winning Handmaid's Tale, and this indie cartoonist Michael Lee Harris, who stuff is so singular, and and that is Evil Dead for Black nerds. And then finally come out in January by Vita Ayala and Skylar Patridge, our kind of very familiar to comics fans team, is Finders Keepers, which is about a reverse Indiana Jones, someone who steals artifacts from museums to bring them back to their native cultures. And that, in a nutshell, is the Horizon experiment.
Well, and I'll say right now that between the fact that Vita is one of my what's the word I want to use? Uh, One of the podcast gets that I want the most, and the
Yeah,
fact that I love Indiana Jones, you need to come back and bring them with you for that final order cutoff,
yeah,
just because
yeah. No, no. I'm a huge fan of
Vita
Vita.
is amazing.
It's amazing. They're amazing. And out of everyone,
Absolutely.
yeah, out of everyone working in comics, they were all, the creator that, as a former editor, I made me want to come out of retirement the most to work with. And
Okay.
so putting this together, it gave me a chance to finally do that
Okay. Just retirement as an editor, right? I mean, you
as
didn't
an
go
editor.
retire.
No, 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 just retirement as an editor.
Yeah, no, I will need to go read some of Tanana Reeve Du's books, but I did know her because I read The Keeper when it came out.
Oh,
Even
yeah,
though it
that's a
didn't
great book.
seem like it was going to be like my cup of tea,
Mm,
it looked just good enough that I'm like, I'm going to read this week. And it wound up being
yeah,
one of my picks for the week because it was like,
that,
fuck, that was good.
yeah, The Keeper's great. The Keeper's great. Her latest novel, The Reformatory, that one's amazing and it's winning all the
Okay.
awards. So that
Okay.
I highly recommend that.
I'll have to go check that out. Um, yeah, so I mean, I love this concept period. I mean, we talked a moment off air about like I've just reached that point where I don't crave new affluent white male perspectives. I mean, I have plenty of affluent white male writers that I love, some of them like as personal friends and some of them just their work. And I don't plan on like stopping reading them. And I'm not saying that I never come across another one that I like,
Mhm.
but I'm at a point in my life that more than anything, I crave seeing the world from different perspectives,
Mm,
expanding my own um I guess baseline. Yeah,
mhm,
expanding my baseline for looking at things. Um I mean, every time I read a book from a significantly different perspective, and I'm trying to think of specific examples from the three books that you've put out already, because I know there were. I go, oh, that had never occurred to me
mhm.
because it didn't have to.
Right, right.
Um, and sometimes, I mean, I'm going to use an example from the book that's been on my mind the most lately. David F. Walker and my dear friend Marcus Kwame Anderson just put out
Mm,
Big Jim and the White Boy, which if you
yeah.
haven't read it, go read it. It's outstanding.
Mhm,
Um, but one of the things that I told them that I was ashamed that it had never occurred to me until I read their book, and I was lucky enough to have read their book a long time ago. So I actually got to read their book a little bit before I read James, the Percival
mhm.
Everett book that also winds up dealing with this issue, which is why did Jim give a damn about Huck?
Hmm,
He's an escaped slave. What the
mhm,
fuck is he gonna like allow this little white boy to be like the thing that possibly gets him caught?
mhm, mhm.
Why was he still by his side at 1 second longer than he needed to be?
Yeah.
Um, and it's such an obvious question when you think about it, but uh, because I look more like Huck, I'd always just thought, oh well, Huck's a kid, and
Mhm.
he's a kid, so you wanna take care of the kid. Well, I
Right.
mean, yeah, but Jim had kids too.
Mhm,
um, so yeah, I mean, where this is going is like what inspired kicking off this project, um, and kind of like I mean, it's image, so I hope you didn't run into many or like bumps in terms of making it happen, but like what kicked it off and like what was the road to taking this from an idea to, oh, we're actually going to get to do this.
I mean, it was in terms of the last question first, it was fortunately a pretty straight line.
Okay.
And so what happened was, you know, my books, my image books specifically, Infidel and The Good Asian, they kind of already do this. They kind of
Absolutely.
already are genre books that very classic genre tales where you focus on a different perspective and you watch it sort of and you find new areas to explore in the genre in the process. And especially specifically when The Good Asian was coming out, there were a lot of people online that were saying they wish they saw there was more like this out there from different perspectives. And I realized I wanted to see that too, but all I could do was draw from my own perspective. But I had an idea of how to do a cost effective, low risk way on the creator side to sort of band together to make a couple different books to sort of see what fans might respond to. And 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 when that happens, I, immediately made some phone calls and people were in, and enough people were in that it hit that critical mass that I couldn't take it back anymore. And the next logical step was just to do it. So, you know, so yeah, so once the idea came about, people got very excited about taking part. I'm very grateful for.
Yeah. And a fantastic group of
Thank you.
people.
Thank you.
But so it just came from having done it before or
Yeah, I think having done it before, but also seeing that there was an audience out there for it.
okay.
That, I think every time, like whether it be Infidel or The Good Asian, I'm never quite sure what the audience is going to be. And I'm always a little skeptical, cynical, pessimistic of how, if the audience is going to be big. But between Infidel and The Good Asian, it felt like there was a big audience. And then it kind of became, well, if there's a big audience, let's see how much bigger it can get. Let's see if we can branch it out uh, to more than just my storytelling, my perspective, and branch out to other people, other writers who I find fascinating, who at the time they weren't working in comics but wanted to work in comics. In the meanwhile, they started to work in comics. But since then, none of them had vehicles for their voice. And so I was really love this idea of have these writers whose work I love, who have vastly different experiences than mine, having a vehicle for their voices in comics.
As I started flipping through Manchurian, I
Hmm.
don't know if this is quite the oh, I'd never looked at it from that perspective moment in the comic book, but certainly something that struck me in terms of the ways that and I'm drawing is it Calvin? His
Calvin,
name he
yeah.
goes, yeah. Is different from James Bond is like he has his normal life.
Hmm.
Um, in fact, I'm looking at the page where it says Luna Garcia, the one
Yeah,
normal thing.
yeah,
God, she's amazing. The most empathetic soul I've ever had to pathologically lie to.
yeah.
um, like trying to formulate how I want to put this. It's like one part cruel to like have her there and
Mm,
seemingly not necessary because it's the story of the spy, but it's also so important to Calvin's character.
mhm,
And for that matter, one of the reasons that I like desperately don't want the Manchurian to be a one shot is I want to know more about where that winds up going
mm,
because he seems to be very torn between the mission that he was sent for and the life that he built.
yeah, yeah.
What, where'd that come from? Yeah.
I think one of the things that I find interesting about Chinese espionage or Eastern, well, more Chinese espionage in general, is how it's a flip on what we know of Western espionage. So Chinese espionage is community espionage at the end of the day. The FBI describes, and we get into this in the book. The FBI describes Chinese espionage with the a metaphor of a thousand grains of sand. That if the West were to steal sand from a beach, they would have elite frogmen come in the dead of night and smuggle themselves onto that beach, get the sand, and then go out. Whereas what China would do is they would have a legion of tourists walk on that beach in the middle of the day, and after they were done, they would all shake out their shoes and their boots until they had acquired as much, if not more, sand than your elite frogmen had. The same thing goes. It's the same analogy for Chinese espionage, where it's a bunch of people who never break any laws. And China also makes a point of hiring good people. They don't want pathological liars. They don't want people who are rooted by money. They want people who just want to help out their country, not by breaking any laws, but just by passing along gossip. And so in that world, the country, China finds out what's happening in top secret American projects. Projects in the same way we find out what happens about in Marvel movies. You hear a little bit here and there, and someone collates all of it until you have a picture that feels undeniable. And that was such an inverse way of looking at espionage, and which goes to show, in some ways, the Chinese roots in community thinking, which is different from the individualist thinking of Western society. So that was such an inverse way. Having a James Bond that could work in that field and be the inverse of that was really interesting. So whereas James Bond is sort of famously a misogynist and a sociopath, well, Calvin Lowe is neither of those things. He's the opposite. He's an empath. And being an empath and being someone who cares makes him good at his job because he's around people who care. And that's why they're doing it. And so, but at the same time, and this is the fascinating thing about Chinese espionage, is there is a push pull that you go to good people to do things that might flirt the line of of good or not, depending on what on how you're looking at it. And so Calvin kind of turns that up to 100, and so we can really sort of see that conflict at play with him. And so it makes sense, like a person like that would want a relationship to tether himself because he knows that he's as effective as his emotional intelligence. But at the same time, that provides a conflict between him and what he has to do.
Okay. How did you research how Chinese spycraft works? Any books I should be reading, or are you a spy and didn't tell us?
Yeah, no. There is one book called Tiger Trap. It has a oh wait, I have it right here. Tiger Trap: America's Secret Spy War with China, that came out, I want to say, in the 90s or so. I had been researching it on a different project, and unlike something like The Good Asian, where that is a book where I had a story and I had to research all the details to make sure it's right. The Manchurian is built on some facts, and then we build a fictitious mythology on top of that. Since,
Right.
as you can imagine, the facts about spycraft are pretty hard to come by.
You
Much
mean
like,
there's not a Chinese John le Carre yet?
yeah, not yet. What the interesting thing about that is, if you even look at Chinese movies, if you Google Chinese spy movies, they're all period pieces or military stuff. There's nothing sort of about any of that whatsoever. It doesn't touch any of that.
Right.
So, and the most you'll
I
get
mean, it
about
kind of
spycraft in World
sounds
War
like
II.
if they're gathering granular type stuff, then probably most of their spies are more data scientists than anything.
Yeah,
So you have to get like Aaron Sorkin to do the Moneyball treatment.
right. Exactly.
Though that would be the white guy writing it. So we'll find a different writer, but you know what I mean.
I hear you.
Which is fascinating to me because I think there's probably way more to be found out
Oh, sure.
through. I mean, from what I truly understand about even American intelligence,
Mhm.
there's a lot less of the James Bond stuff that than
But
most people think,
yeah, well, I
because
mean,
there's only
if
so
you,
much that stuff can accomplish.
yeah. I mean, if you look at, I mean, like, the I want to say the gold standard is Le Carre, and
Yeah.
that is, I think the great thing about something like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy is anyone who has left a job, left a corporate job, and watched them get worse after they left can relate to Tinker Tailor Soldier
Yeah.
Spy.
Yeah.
And it is a lot. That book is not that much interested in what you're doing on the field and more about the office work that surrounds it.
Right. Right. And it's a testament to Le Carre that he can build so much tension
Yeah,
with like Smiley going through receipts.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
You can feel yourself in the room with him as he's
Yeah,
reading boring documents.
yeah,
Um, because I love that book. I love all of Le Carre.
yeah.
Um, but most of his books don't have that much action.
No, not at all, not at all.
You know, there's sometimes tension, like people worried that there's going to be action,
Right. Yep.
but like the actual action is not really
Yeah.
what's going on. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, no, I loved Manchurian. Talk to me some about Sacred Damned because um again, so much of the roots of what magic is in Western culture come from the jinn and Arabian Nights and that sort of
Mm,
thing. So like it makes so much sense to have a Muslim Constantine.
yeah.
But even in all of Hellblazer, as brilliant as it was, I remember them dealing with voodoo. I
Yep.
remember them dealing with a couple of other cultures that weren't quite strictly
Hmm.
Anglo, but I
Right.
don't remember any any Mideastern, North
Yeah.
African, and
No,
again,
you,
like as soon as I started reading it, it's just like light bulbs popped. It's like,
yeah.
of course.
That the thing I love about Sacred Dam is it's exactly that. It's one of those concepts that you're just like, oh my God, this is so obvious. Why haven't I seen this
Right.
earlier? Because as soon as you, and this is what happened when Saber pitched it to me, as soon as I heard the concept, you have this moment where you're just like, oh my God.
I
And I'm
mean,
a horror freak.
even if we're going to like actual exorcism type stuff,
Yeah.
right? When Jesus was expelling demons from people, that was in the Middle East
Yeah. Yeah. No,
before
exactly.
Christianity.
Exactly. Well, but that's the thing. Like all of, and I've seen hundreds of exorcism stories. They're all from the Christian or Catholic perspective.
Right. Right.
And as soon as I saw or heard the pitch for Sacred Dam, it suddenly opened up this whole world of oh yeah,
Yeah.
what's the Muslim perspective? What's the Buddhist perspective? What's the Hindu
Right.
perspective? There's all these other faiths with different approaches to, the occult and that we've kind of, neglected and are kind of bereft of. And so yeah, so the Sacred Dam is sort of set up to get into all that, and I really love it. Also the fact that Michael Walsh is so good.
Oh
He's
yeah.
just such a, he's such a powerhouse of a talent, and
Right.
Saber, for not to spoil it because it's in stores right now. It's such a
Go
disciplined
pick it up,
story.
buy a
It
digital copy,
is,
whatever it
yeah,
takes.
do whatever it takes. It's such a disciplined story. It doesn't approach things the way they're going to. Yeah, I just love it so
Yeah,
much.
no, there was a I mean, in the era where Oni has brought back EC and really, I
Yes.
think, accomplished
Yeah.
having what EC would look like if it was
Hmm.
modern. I
Yeah.
loved that decision that they made, where it was no, we're not going with the art style of EC.
Right.
We're assuming EC would have developed the rest of the or developed the way the rest of comics develop. But there are
Yeah.
certain things that make a Marvel comic. There are certain things that make a DC comic. There are certain things that make an EC comic. One of the big parts
Mm.
is that twist.
Yeah.
This could have been this one shot could have been published by EC.
Yeah.
The the
No,
the
total.
the the way it completely inverts on itself
Yeah.
And this is why I'm going out of my way to give like no plot points, because if you even
Right.
give the beginning plot point, then you can start predicting the end plot points. But the way it so completely inverts on itself, um, is like worthy of the best EC
Yeah.
stories. And
And yeah.
for this kind of story, I don't think there's a higher compliment that you can give in
Hmm.
comics, is there?
No. No, no, definitely not.
So yeah, I mean, give me what what is Sabir's background again? Saber, sorry.
Saber. Yeah, no, no worries. Saber Prasada.
Well,
He
no, I think
is.
it's very, very important to try to get it right.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. He is Pakistani American. He's Muslim as well. He has a God. His list of credits. I mean, he is he wrote for the Ms. Marvel and Moon Knight TV shows. He wrote for Lucasfilms. When Marvel Comics needed a writer to pair up with Iman Vellani, the MCU's Kamala Khan, to write comics, they chose Saber to do that.
Yeah.
He's such a powerhouse of a talent. He's such a great talent. He wrote a graphic novel called Dandelion, that
Oh,
came out a couple
that's where
months
I
ago.
know him. I've read
Yeah,
Dandelion. Dandelion
yeah.
is so
It's
good.
so good. It's so good. And so he's just such a great talent, and he just loves, loves, loves comics. And so it was really easy to bring him on board. He I mean, he checked every conceivable box you could check of just like, oh my God, how do you not? If I'm gonna doing this, Saber was like, if he wasn't my first call, he was definitely my second call. Like it was this was made for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we talked a little bit about Tanana Reeves'
Yeah.
resume. Talk to us about Moondogs
Moondogs is
in more
another one.
detail, because this is again like I love the layers here.
Yeah. Well, Tanana Reeve, and she's so good at this. Like her work, she's great at mythology building. But I think a lot of times when people say mythology building, they think of these huge, uh, over the top sort of sprawling sort of thing. And she creates these great mythologies that's very kind of intimate.
Yeah.
And I think you see that in Moondogs. And I think the thing I love about Moondogs, it's everything I love about Tanarus. It's widespread, it's wide sprawling mythology, but it looks at the sort of the intimate effects. It lives in the intimacy in that mythology. And yeah, and so Moondogs is about these East African werewolves, and it's centered around white were hyenas, which are from Somalian folklore. And so she kind of worked that into a world where werewolves exist, and sort of talks about what it's like to be a family, and specifically Nala, who is the protagonist. Um, what just her her perspective on sort of taking care of her family and taking care of her siblings, which, me and Will, my co-editor in all this is Will Dennis, who's edited some of the best comics around. Under
Yeah.
Bullets, Why the Last Man, pick anyone, pick most of Scott Snyder's like create her own projects. Like he's one of the best editors working. So, and for both of us, we had seen so little stuff that's just sort of about siblings. And so that was one of the nice intimate things that sort of Tananarive um, brought to the table with this. I mean, Tananarive's writing is it's such a magic trick because how she manages to go big and small sort of at the same time.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I, it's a month away, so I'm gonna say go order it. I don't want to
Mhm.
give too much away.
Mhm.
I love the way it. Well, actually, one of the things that I love about it, because if there's one thing that Anglo culture is particularly guilty of,
Mhm.
it's um combining other cultures.
Sure. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Mexican, Nicaraguan,
Right.
Cuban, Puerto Rican, all very different,
Yeah.
but but not to huge swaths of. So I like that that she used a blended family.
Yeah.
Um, I like that uh, the the gang war, for lack of a
Mhm.
better term, that kicks off is would be easily written off by somebody who wanted to as like interculture fight or intraculture
Right, right.
fighting rather
Yeah.
than interculture fighting.
Right, right.
You know, oh, they're all wolves. They're all
Yeah.
um and you know it's another thing that I mean all of them just make me want so much more. I'm really, really hoping that your sales numbers are such that it can justify more.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see. Like, it's
Um,
one of the reasons why we're banging the drum as much as we can, all of us on board,
right.
because we really do, want it. We really do, um, or wanted to tell more of these stories. All the teams are kind of committed to that.
And who's the artist today?
For which one? For Moondogs?
Well, oh, that's right, because Sacred Dam was today. We talked about Michael Walsh already for Moondogs. And we should have given out a quick shout out to Terry Dodson who did
Yeah, Terry Dodson's art on Manchurian is, I mean, Terry
right,
is comic book royalty, and
right,
so he, it's funny. I think I mentioned it in the issue itself. Is that originally when we were casting around looking for an artist, I talked to my editor Will and was like, who do we know who that's kind of like a Terry Dodson type, and Will was just like, why don't we just ask Terry?
Terry Dodson.
He is comic book royalty, so it took a while for me to believe that he would make the time to do this, and he did. Um, I've been Terry. The amazing thing about working with Terry, for me, is that I've had the benefit now of working with a lot of amazing artists. Terry's the first artist where every panel, every page comes out somehow exactly as picture it in my head, but just 8,000 times prettier and better looking, you know? And I don't totally know how that's possible because I'm not an artist. And so I've been, and I'll have, I'll realize that there are problems and how I'm thinking about things, and artists will come in and approach a different way. But working with Terry, it's as if like, oh no, I guess it was right the way I had it in my head. And I know that's just Terry being as good as Terry is, somehow managing to pull that off. And it does feel like magic. But I think part of that also might be because I've been reading Terry's comics since like Manta, back in the 90s with the Ultraverse.
Right.
Like I've been reading his comics for so long. There is an argument that I think in Terry Dodson panels at this point. His stuff is just so good, and he's done some of the best stuff around.
All right. So for Moondogs, it's Kelsey Ramsey
Kelsey Ramsey, yes.
who hasn't uh
She
pronounced, is it she?
yes.
Okay.
She doesn't have a
She
huge
just she
resume.
doesn't have a huge resume yet, but it's an impressive one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing about her is how quickly she shot up to
Right.
everybody's lists, because she went from, and you never see this, she went from a couple short stories and some anthologies you never heard of coming out of London to working, you know, on uh
Scott Snyder's Dark
IDW's, yeah,
Spaces,
Dark
Good
Spaces, Good
Deeds
Deeds,
with
a
Che
line
Grayson.
curated with Jay Grayson, a line
Right.
curated by Scott Snyder. She goes from that to working on Hellblazer with DC. Like that
Right.
is enormous jumps that you make.
Right.
Like, they're years most artists take, if not decades, to cross that. And she did it in the span of like a year and a half, maybe. So we're just really lucky we got her on that rise because her art's fantastic.
Yeah. No, I mean I didn't recognize her initially, and that's why I went looking. And as soon as I started looking at it, I'm like, oh my.
Yeah.
For that matter, it's funny because I I reread It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth
Oh, sure, yeah.
this week, and so the first thing I noticed is, oh, she got to do a cover on a book that Zoe Thorogood wrote but didn't draw the inside, which
Ooh.
means because she did a cover for Life is Strange, Forget Me Not,
Oh, wow.
um,
Wow.
which I thought Zoe was doing all of those covers.
Oh,
I thought
that's
that was part of
interesting.
the draw. So the fact
Hmm.
that like she got a cover of
Yeah.
like that's Zoe's another example of somebody who
Yeah.
went from
Yeah. Yeah. To skyrocketed. Yeah.
right.
Out of nowhere to being a
Um,
superstar now.
and I'm kind of glad that that's. I mean, it used to be the joke that it couldn't happen. Oh, you think we skyrocketed out of nowhere? We've been
Right.
toiling as assistants or whatever for
Right.
decades. Blah blah blah. Um, and I know that there's some grumpy old white men that are upset that these kids aren't having to put in their dues.
Hmm.
Um, but they're good
Yeah.
and they're
And
showing
listen,
it. And there are
there's
more place. I mean, and really, that's the thing. Is there if there's one truly good thing about being a comics artist right now
mhm,
is that it's that creating your portfolio and getting it out there
yeah.
it is as easy as a click.
Yes, that's very true. That's very
You
true.
know, I keep meaning to really pick the brain of a couple of friends of mine that do almost all of their comics reading on Instagram. Apparently, there's a
Mm.
whole world of Instagram comics that I don't know about, but I bet
Yeah,
you
yeah,
most good comics editors do
yeah. I'm sure that they do. I'm sure that they
because
do.
they're
Yeah.
going, this art would fit that project.
Right.
um, I love that like as global comics fills the gap that
Hmm.
Amazon left when
Right.
they chopped up comicsology.
Yeah.
One of the things that they've embraced is vertical scroll. Um,
Yeah.
both in terms of hosting both ways, but in terms of
Hmm.
getting a lot of comics that were drawn traditionally adapted to vertical.
Mm.
And like not haphazardly. Um, Tyler and I just for a regular episode this week looked at the issue one, A Money Shot, and we're
Mm.
the original version versus the vertical version, and we're
Mm.
really impressed with some of the ways that they would affect pacing
Right.
by how much space was between panels,
Hmm.
would change the positioning of sound effects or word balloons to affect your read in this new
Hmm.
format. And the reason that's important is because webtoons are wildly popular.
Yeah.
The whole different generation that barely knows a comic shop and doesn't necessarily feel welcome in them. Um, so the more different ways that comics get out there, the more different things that we acknowledge are comics, the more
Yeah.
readers you get. The more readers you get, hopefully, the more people can actually make a living at it, which like is my dream
Yeah.
that, it be something that doesn't require hand to mouth living for
Right.
for art's sake, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so yeah, no, Kelsey does fantastic work on Moondogs. We've got like 10 minutes. So before I
Mhm.
ask my favorite final question, um, give me quick further rundowns on the two books that we have coming up.
Sure. Motherfucking Monsters, like I said, written by writer Jay Holtham. He is, I mean, Jay's got like one of the best nerd creds around there. He's written for the Jessica Jones TV show, Cloak and Dagger TV show, Supergirl TV show. He's written Bishop War College for Marvel and Night Thrasher. But this was a book that's more like lets him to again just really lean more into his sort of his most confident voice, and it is a horror comedy in the style of Army of Darkness or Evil Dead. It's you can see the Jordan Peele, you can see the Sam Raimi influence on it, and it's about a nerdy black kid who doesn't really fit in where he grew up, and so goes to this sort of white college, and in all the things that he loves, the Dungeons and Dragons and comics and all that sort of stuff, he can fit in more sort of with in this new college where he and then his friends from the old neighborhood come to visit, and they all find out that there's a secret doomsday cult in this
In this
college that
swanky
he's kind of
college.
in this
Uh,
swanky college where he's become friends with everybody.
I love it.
And it's great. I think, you know, I cannot stop raving about Michael Lee Harris's art. Michael Lee, he goes by Lee. He does deceptively simple things that you realize no one's done before in comics. The little things he does with comics grammar. Things like he will he'll have gutters that are a color. They're not black or white, they're a color.
Okay.
And he'll use that to sort of help the storytelling and help give you a sense of the mood. He does little things with inset panels where he uses just pure swaths of color to provide an inset panel. Really simple things, but it shows like a kind of demand, a command of the medium that you don't normally see. I was on a panel with an image panel this past weekend in New York Comic Con with Paul Ascaceta, and I was talking about all this. And Paul, who, if you know Paul, he worked on Outcast with Robert Kirkman
Hmm.
as well, and he has a new book coming out with Rick Remender, and he talk about a great artist. But Paul, sort of said like the reason why you don't see us a lot is that it's really hard to pull off, and Lee's art and his, he's so good at his craft, you don't realize how hard it is to pull off. So I just think that book has such a fresh voice. And then there's also, it's hard to talk up people who are as good as Vita and Skylar because they've done so much.
Yeah.
They've worked together on Wonder Woman, on Trial of the Amazons, and they've been dying to work together again.
So
Vita's
so
worked
so
in
so
everything.
since we can't talk them up because we
Yeah,
can't, and
yeah,
you need to bring them on because I want to talk to them both.
they're fantastic.
Talk up the book because I love the concept of the
The
reverse
concept
Indiana
is great.
Jones.
It's about a queer Puerto Rican reverse Indiana Jones. It takes a little bit from Vita's background, where they worked as a security guard in a museum for a little while. So they got like an inside sort of perspective on how museums work and the attitude behind them. And from that, Vita had this really great idea of something that's part Catwoman heist, part classic Indiana Jones, and it's action adventure, and it's fantastic. A they found a cool way that to do a heist sequence that's never been done before in comics. I cannot wait for people to see it. I can't wait to hear what people think of it. But that is a great thing about working with someone like Vita and Skylar, who are so entrenched in the world of comics already. They are finding ways to use the opportunity to sort of like really push the form of it all. So yeah, so I think Finders Keepers is amazing. All the issues have interlocking covers by Tula Lotte, as well as 1 in 25 foil variants, a virgin foil variants of the whole same thing. And the thing I particularly like about it is it didn't really hammer home to me, not that I didn't know what the thing was about, but there was one of the powers, I think, of the cover. It highlighted something that I knew going in was part of the appeal of doing it, but I forgot about it along the way until I saw Tula's cover. Is that all five of these books are as different as they could be. If you line up all the A covers, you see a completely wide range of artistic styles and artistic choices within those styles. But then when you look at the cover B's, the Tula's covers, you see how distinct they are, but at the same time, they can coexist alongside one another. They don't compete with each other for space. And it's something I really love about all the one shots. And I really think Tula's
So
covers,
now
when
you're gonna
locked
make me
together,
go buy the B covers, man. How
if
many
that's what
times do
you
I
will,
gotta buy the book, man?
I love Tula's covers so much. I mean, Tula
I
is
do too.
such a sort of
I do
talent.
too. So I guess if it juices sales, I will forgive you this time for
I appreciate that.
playing the random let's make Let's make the variant covers so fucking cool that you have to buy them both. Um, so my favorite question to ask, with the 4 minutes we have left,
Hmm.
tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but doesn't have to be, that not enough other people have experienced, and you need them to, so that you can talk to them about it.
I mean, honestly, the one that's in my head right now, although I think a lot of people have experienced, is I really love Michael Walsh's Frankenstein. I
Okay,
raved about that first issue. I loved it so much.
that's a good answer. I haven't actually read it yet, so I'm gonna have
Oh,
to.
it's great.
It's a,
He finds a
is that a
very
good?
fresh way into a story, very fresh, seemingly obvious way, no one who's done it, into a story that we all know, and it blows me away.
Well, I mean, there's nothing more impressive than somebody doing something so easily that you say seemingly obvious, because
Yes,
clearly it wasn't obvious, or somebody would have
right,
done it a long time ago.
right, 100%, 100%.
So even if it was obvious, it then became harder than
Yeah,
because either people went, oh, we should do it like that, and they tried and they failed,
right,
or it just never occurred to anybody.
yeah.
Either one. I mean, I think it was Chip Zdarsky that made the comment that, like, how is it that we've had Batman for 80 years and nobody in comics came up with Dogman until
Right.
Dav Pilkey?
Yeah.
I mean, this was like a guarantee. People like dogs. People like
Right.
superheroes that are named Batman and Spider-Man. So of course they'd like Dogman.
Right.
Pornsak, it's always a pleasure.
Same.
I definitely want to have you back to pitch other ones, bring creators, whatever you want. We will pitch the hell out of your books for you. We've been doing it in our quiet way already. I only say quiet because, unfortunately, hi mom, hi John, hi Adam, Britt. Those are the four people that I'm pretty certain are listening. The numbers I get indicate that there are probably at least 10 more. They can email me at 22 panels podcast at Gmail, and I'll say hi to them too. Pornsak, I don't even know what to say. It's always fun. Your work is amazing. Um, I was psyched for this project from the moment it was announced, and it hasn't let me down. I loved. We didn't even talk about it. Man's Best wrapped up, and you
Oh
guys
yeah.
stuck the landing so
Oh,
well.
thanks.
I was when you were on initially, I told you that it
Hmm.
was, I could already feel that it was going to be one of my top three books miniseries of the year, and I still feel that way. With the unfortunate fact that there are now like 10 books that I feel like are like obvious choices for
Right.
top miniseries. This has been a really good
It's been
year
a great
for
year.
miniseries. There's been
It
so
really
many good
has.
comics this year. So it's always a pleasure. I will let you go so that we can like not piss you off and therefore get you back. For Pornsak Pichetshote.
You got it.
This has been 22 panels, and we will see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22 Panels Podcast.